We'll start off with Kobe Price from the Sun Sentinel. Kobe, go ahead.
Thanks, Alex. Hey, Manny, how you doing?
Good. Kobe, how you doing?
Doing solid, man. I wanted to ask, about this offensive line. I think we've talked about it with Rhett the other day. How important is it for them to, I guess, get this kind of test against Alabama on the first game, not just for, I guess, Saturday, but for the entire outlook of the season for them as a unit?
Well, it's a big test for those guys. They've all improved. They've all come a long way. You have guys that at least have been in games, have played against great competition. You have to deal with noise. There's gonna be a lot of adversity that they're going to face, but I think they're ready for that. I think they want that challenge. I think they all knew the schedule was the day that the calendar turned to 2021. So they've been working very hard for Saturday at 3:30.
We'll go now to Gary Furman from Kane Sport. Gary.
Hey, Manny, how you doing today? Hey, I had two questions. One, are you ready to say if anybody is going to be suspended for the game, or is that something you're going to wait till Saturday on? There've been some rumors floating around, so that's
Gary. We'll never announce something like that until before game.
Until game day.
That's just our policy.
Okay, and then the other question I had is that when you look at Alabama's offensive line, and you play the matchup game and some of the size issues that you're working around at linebacker and some other places, how, as a defensive coordinator, obviously without giving away your game plan, but how can defensive coordinators adjust in general when there's a size disparity up front?
But when is there not a size disparity up front? I mean, that's what made Miami, right? Was smaller, fast defenders. I mean, some of the all-time greats that have, I assume you're talking about linebacker, right? Some of the all-time greats that have played linebacker here were not big body types. I can see some names on the ceiling of guys that were small, fast, missiles, and explosive. I mean, Mike Pickney played 4 years here as a starter, and I don't think Mike ever weighed more than 220 pounds. I don't know what we listed him as, but that's what he weighed. So, right? I mean, am I answering your question the right way? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. That's kind of what I was looking for to talk about.
Until we line up, I mean, again, this is what Jimmy Johnson brought to Miami. So until we line up with 330-pound defensive tackles, and I don't know how big our linebackers are supposed to be, this is Miami. We're going to be fast on defense. You can see the same changes going on in the National Football League. You're talking about faster outside linebackers, got to be able to play in space and cover. This is what has happened in college football going to the spread, just a change of mentality. So anyway, that's how we roll.
Okay, thank you.
We'll go now to David Lake from Inside the U. David.
Hey, Coach, just two quick questions. I guess first, just how Zion looked in practice to you these last 2 days. And then my second question is this idea of you guys kind of starting slow in these quote unquote big games last year in the first quarter, with the games kind of getting away from you guys. Is that something that you guys have talked about or addressed here this off season leading up to this game?
Yeah, I mean, yes. The first part, yeah, Zion's been fine in practice. I mean, we expect him to be good to go on Saturday. He's had 2 good days out there on the field. In terms of the starts, I guess you're talking about. I mean, again, last year. I don't know that carries us into this year. We have talked about just performing better. I don't think. I mean, to me, I just think it just in terms of how you play. Over the course of 4 quarters. So yeah, I mean, I think I've mentioned multiple times. I mean, we talk about our performance in games like this, and I think our guys are excited to play as well as they can. That being said, we still know those other guys are pretty good too, and we expect a 4-quarter battle.
We'll go now to Cal Friedman from WVUM. Cal.
Coach, this is the second time in 2 years you're playing against a consensus number 1. Does the preparation and overall morale of the locker room feel different from Clemson last year and Alabama this year?
I heard, what was the middle part of the question? Is the what different than last year?
The preparation, the morale of of your team. Do you feel more ready for Alabama this year than you did for Clemson last year?
Well, it's different because it's an opener, so you've had more time to prepare for them than with Clemson a year ago. I think it is good for our program to get into these type games against these teams that have had a run of recent success. You learn a lot about where you're at. You learn a lot about where you're lacking. So, I think the Clemson game a year ago taught us a lot. I think our guys have all learned from that. And I do think that helps you in a way getting into a preparation for Alabama.
Up next, we have David Wilson from the Miami Herald. David.
Hey, Manny, two quick ones for me. One, I noticed Al Blades working with the safeties when we were out there on Monday. I know you guys were a little thinner there than you probably thought at the beginning of camp with Brian's injury and Avante's injury. Is that a situation where he could play some at both spots this year?
Yeah, we think Al offers positional flexibility, whether it's a safety or inside nickel dime type things. So, yeah, and I think T-Rob does a great job. And that's one of the things we try to talk about this year with the DBs meeting together more often, of having that group be more connected to hearing the same things every day in meetings. And that way different guys can help out in different roles, because invariably during the course of the year, there's no way to tell, who will be out and where the needs will be.
And then James Williams obviously is on that backup spot on that depth chart, but he's such a unique player. I'm kind of curious, do you kind of view him strictly as a backup safety, or is he a guy where, I know he's only 15 practices in or whatever now, but is he a guy where as the season goes on, you could maybe see him used in kind of different roles or different packages? Just how do you kind of view him?
Well, yeah, I mean, and he's getting reps at some, nickel dime type work as well. But I mean, I think the thing with James and any of our young players, to be honest, is just learning that day-to-day effort, consistency, assignments, of what allows the older guys to play faster, especially when you don't get here for spring practice. So, James is working his way through and looking, I would imagine like a lot of your young guys, his role as the season goes on will start to increase more and more.
Up next, we have Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Just a reminder, please speak up so Coach can hear in the IPF.
Hey, Manny, two questions. First one for me is a travel roster. I guess how many guys are you actually allowed to take with you up to Atlanta? And then the second one has to do with special teams. I know obviously you guys released a depth chart on Monday for offense and defense, but curious how many freshmen you guys have maybe on kickoff coverage, the new arrivals, how many of those guys? I know normally you go with a bunch of starters and regulars, but just curious how many of those young guys maybe earn spots on those special teams units?
The travel roster is 80, and we'll be around that number. Freshmen that are starting on special teams, there are some that are starting on some of the special teams units. I probably wouldn't say how many and who they are anyway, but I don't know off the top of my head exactly how many on the big four units of special teams are starting. So yeah, I mean, some of those guys will get a chance to make an impact early on teams, but like I said, I couldn't be able to recite everyone that's starting on all four of the units right now anyhow.
Thanks.
Last up, we have Chris Stock from Inside the U. Chris.
I'm here. Coach, defensive backs, you touched on them a little bit earlier, but can you elaborate a little bit more? You've got a lot of veterans, corner safeties, and then also maybe what you're seeing from Alabama's wideouts that you're expecting to face on Saturday.
I'll answer the second part of the question because I'm not sure I understand the first. I mean, in terms of Alabama's wideouts, they lost a lot of production, but they do return Michu, who's a phenomenal player. I think he'd have been, on a team with Smith and Waddle a year ago, I think he'd have been a number one on, maybe 95% of the teams in the country. Is impressive as a strong hands, contested catches, route runner. But the thing that we've used him as an example is just the way he blocks is as impressive as anything. So he's a problem. They've got a lot of guys that haven't played as much, but have shown whether it's in spring game or just knowing what they've done in high school that are super talented. So again, it's up to us in the secondary to make sure we are where we're supposed to be and we're playing with the proper technique in our coverages to be able to make it hard on them and hard on the quarterback. Say more about what you want me to say about the defensive backs. I didn't really understand what you were asking there.
Yeah, no, I apologize. Just that you've got veteran guys at corner and safety. Like you touched on Al with some versatility, but I assume you feel good about this group. I guess if you could elaborate your confidence in this group, because again, a lot of veteran guys have played a lot of football.
Yeah, where I think it helps is you can see the maturity. Gervin and Bubba have by far had the best month of practice that they've had since they've been here. I think both those guys, push each other. Same thing at corner. You know what I mean? I think Couch, Ivy, Stevenson have all been pushing each other throughout camp. Al, we just got back and getting Al in the mix. Again, really is a boost in the arm for what we got going on. So you just have older guys that get it. They've been in the games. They've gone against great players. And it's going to help you because especially early on and some of the unknowns of what you're going to get schematically from the other side in terms of formations, motions, shifts, those type of things. Just help some guys that have been in a game and can help communicate to each other because they've got some confidence in what they're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Okay, thank you all.